Hello there, and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We're back to talk more TNA wrestling, and we're reviewing the 28th of March and previewing the 5th of April episodes here on this one here. So we've got quite a bit to cover, starting to boil towards Rebellion. Now, the opening match was, I'll talk about the opening promo, recapping a few things, getting things together about the X Division match between Jake Something and Mustafa Ali. We'll talk more about that in a little while, but yes, there's a good little highlight. The card starts open with the Knockouts match, the 8-4-1 match. Ash by Elegance came out, and her concierge said, hey, she's recently had surgery on her face and she can't compete, so there's going to be substitution, but we're going to be here at ringside to watch the action. It turned out that Steph DeLander returned here tonight. I know that a few people knew that. I kind of knew that she was coming back at some point as well because I actually saw that spoiler and whatnot, but I didn't know what she was doing and where she'd be at and whatnot. So this was a bit of a surprise, I guess, that she was in this match. And in this 8-4-1 match, Xia Brookside crashed into Ash by Elegance, obviously, and that furthers their rivalry, and Ash by Elegance yeeted Xia into a ring post. Got the little bit of a highlight here of Steph DeLander video package of her coming back, and the updated card graphic there, which doesn't really matter that much. Actually, when I was watching this match, just the initial steps, I forgot that Havoc was in this match for 2 seconds. I was like, wait, Havoc was in this match? And I was like, oh yeah, Havoc's in this match. I was like, huh? For a second there. I don't know why. I mean, it's kind of obvious, that she'd probably be in this. I actually, going into this, I don't think we really knew all the competitors that would be in it, but it's kind of obvious that it's all the knockouts pretty much. So I was thinking when I saw the initial graphic that I thought, okay, maybe Lish wins this. That would be interesting if Lish wins it. But then I was like, that does make sense. That could work. But then I was like, well, actually, if Lish doesn't win it, it makes somewhat more sense because she can be, going out at the pay-per-view and saying, hey, you should face me, I got robbed in that match or something, or whatnot, things like that, and, keep getting that heat or, keep building to that. She never really lost or whatever. She should have won. She got screwed. Things like that. You can keep doing things with her to keep things going, keep things interesting. The other person I thought maybe it would be Marsha. I thought Marsha could go up against Jordan again, but then I was like, man, I don't mind seeing it, but again, I don't want to see too many repeat matches, the same thing over and over again. So, we've already seen Steph DeLander and Jordan, but Steph DeLander did win this match ultimately, with help from Matt Cardona, who came in through the crowd. And you can see that last little bit of the highlight here as well. So, yes, Steph DeLander will be facing Jordan Grace at Rebellion. I'll be talking a bit more about that in an updated Rebellion card fairly soon, at least, and discussing more specifically about it. but I don't want to cover too much of it here because we will be talking quite a bit about it in that. So I don't want to spend too much time on it here. The dissension within Time Machine continues, and Alex Shelley says, well, you're having a singles match, so I'm going to have a singles match. And then wanders off. Chris Bay and Ace Austin, they seem like they're having some miscommunication kind of issues going on too. I guess tag teams, this does happen sometimes. Like I said before, like I don't want to see these guys kind of break apart because they're integral to the tag team division. But the thing is, you could make another couple of teams, like if you worked at it and, said, let's just focus on this tag team division. I think what their tag team division needs is some baby faces. But we'll talk more about that soon. But still, I don't know. It's really, really tough. But it's one of those things where, like, I'd love to see these guys as single stars. I think that they're ready to be single stars. And maybe they're not quite ready to be the world heavyweight champion this year, but I think that they could start, both main eventing on consistent basis or start getting pushes on that high upper main event level. Like, I don't know. I can see these guys succeeding in that space. Like, if they're I don't want to see them break apart. I don't want to see one of them turn heel, although, it would be entertaining in some regards, but kind of just, dude, I want to see more young guys, more of these young baby faces just, going for the big belts, or whatever. Even the X division, I don't know. They could still fit in there. I think Bay's only won it once. I think Ace has won it 3 or 4 times, I think. So I think Bay has got more to prove in that X Division space a little bit. I don't know in some regards, but seriously, they're both charismatic enough. Easy for me to say, to really carry anything like this. So it's just the stories and the build that they kind of need to, get there, and a little bit of one-on-one legitimacy. But again, Bay said, hey, we're having some things here and some things there. You had a singles match, so I'm going to have a singles match against Kazarian. And went off to find Kazarian. Grizzled Young Vets came out blaming Diener for their loss. And Diener came out and said, hey, I'm going to fight you guys, but I don't know which one of you I'm going to fight. And then he asked the audience, which one of them should I fight? This guy or this guy? And then the audience was basically chanting, both, 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 both. And, he tried to fight both, which didn't work out too well. And the Grizzled Young Vets pinned Diener in this match. Realistically, he needs a tag team partner of some description of some sort if he's going to go up against these two guys. There's no way that one person can go up against a tag team. Just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But who his partner could be, I don't know. But you have a highlight here of the GYV hitting the grit your teeth. Nick Nemeth was having a bit of an interview backstage, and Alex Shelley interrupted him to say, hey, let's have a match, And Nick Nemeth took a few seconds to agree on this generational clash between these two guys. Now, I don't want to spoil the upcoming Sabin versus Macklin match that's later on in the card, but we did talk a lot about the Guns leaving TNA, and it does seem like apparently that they have left. I think that after I published that episode On the channel here, there was a report saying that there was actually a farewell party backstage or whatever for them, and that sort of thing. So now it sounds like it's pretty confirmed. So to me, it doesn't sound like Saban or Shelley is going to really do anything in the next couple of weeks. If, like, I think this might be their last week, probably. I'm not 1,000% sure. So I expect Shelley's not going to win that. But it's still going to be a very good match, very fire match, including the match that's coming up. And I don't want to spoil too much about that, but it goes the way you would think based on that. We heard from Josh Alexander, and he basically had an open challenge that he wanted Hammerstone to come down and face him in the ring for a match, but Hot Sauce Tracy Williams came out and challenged Josh instead for a match. I don't know much about Hot Sauce, Mr. Hot Sauce. This is the first time I've ever seen him, but dude, he went in that ring, bro. So, you know, like, now I'm interested. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you are debuting a new star, it's hard. It's hard, especially when you're going to hand somebody a loss. But when they look good in loss, and, like, again, Josh Alexander is pretty much the top guy in the company, it's hard to, sort of, match that level. Especially, like, I didn't even realize this guy's been wrestling for, like, nearly 20 years, like, or whatever. Like, I was like, dude, I've never heard of this guy. Here's the highlight of his entrance, which was, like, I was like, what? Who's this? Like, initially. And I was like, okay, this is a new guy. He's probably going to lose. But again, like, I didn't realize he had this history. The commentary was doing an all right job of telling us some of this stuff. But, like, the match itself told a lot of the story, which is, again, somebody was saying this somewhere on Twitter and whatnot, that matches don't contain stories. Like, what? Matches are stories. Like, matches are a vessel for stories. The more story you have, the more things matter and mean in the context of the match, and that sort of thing. Every match has a story, even if there isn't a story between the two wrestlers. You've got wrestler A and wrestler B. If we know wrestler A, Josh Alexander, he's a superstar. We don't really know this guy. Like, if you're a super indie fan, I guess, or more of an indie or, mark of the sport than me, when I try to be a pretty big mark of the sport, then you might know who this guy is. But for the more casual audience, they've got no clue who this guy is. Like, again, like, I'm pretty clued in. I'm not the most clued in, I will say that. But again, like, I still am pretty clued in. I know who some of the New Japan guys are. I know who some of the bigger names are on the indie scene, if you talk about some of them. Like, but, like, I didn't know who this guy was. But when he did his promo, I was like, oh, okay, cool. And the commentary is telling me a bit, oh, he's former ROH champion, blah, 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 this and that. I'm going, oh, okay, well, he's got to have some credentials behind him. And, he's making his first match here. Okay, I'm going to, see what this guy can bring. Now, he didn't get a lot of offense in this match, I will say that. But he hung in there. He hanged in there. And gave it a really good fight in there. I think that they kind of needed a little bit more time for this one, but it is what it is. It's one of those things. You've got to maximize your minutes sometimes and whatnot out there, and that sort of thing. So it can be very tough. But, Josh Alexander pulled the win out, but he raised, here's the highlight of, though it says Frankie Kazarian here, I don't know why it says Frankie Kazarian there, because it was Williams who took the pile driver or the C4 spike. But anyway, yes. that's a bit whatever, but whatever. Yeah. So, but after the match, Hammerstone came out and attacked both of them, mainly attacking Williams and putting him in the torture rack and making him tap out in that torture rack. After the walking weapon had tried to show him a bit of respect for the hard-fought match. And you can see that highlight there as well. X Division champion Mustafa Ali was trying to get out of his match between him and Jake Something by stating that Jake Something shouldn't be able to compete in the X Division because there's got to be some limits. There are no limits in the X Division. Like, that's the best thing about it. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of Jake in the X Division because I want to see him employ a more X Division style. I think that he is a good wrestler, good upper mid-card wrestler right now, and I think he's got a lot of potential to be a world champion one of these days. I really don't see him as being an X Division guy. I think that if he's in the X Division for a few months, just to give him some rub, just to give him some build and some other stuff to do or whatever, that's 100% fine. That's what happens. You've got to give people stuff to do, and this is actually a somewhat interesting story, in some regards, because that's always one of those things that, a lot of people don't really get about the X Division. They sort of say, oh, well, that's not real. It's just a tagline or whatever. No, we're going to show you over here, that we actually follow that. We're going to put this big guy in there and he's going to wreck house and do some stuff, So that was set up there. In between this promo, he said, Jake Something's name was a bit stupid. The only other name that sounded more stupid was Rhino. He said, oh, wait, he's right behind me, isn't he? The old classic catch. And Rhino said, I'll have a match with you. Old school rules next week. So I feel like Ali's winning that. Why would Rhino win? What's the point? Cool to have Rhino in the ECW 2300 arena having a match. Smart booking. But, again, realistically, he's not winning. Also, Ali has been featured on the PWI as the X Division champion. You can see it sort of there. It's been in the news a bit. I'm not really going to cover it too much. But again, I saw this on Facebook somewhere, I think, that he's the first X Division champion to be featured on it since Samoa Joe was back in 06, I think it was. So that's insane. Or maybe it was 05. I'm not quite sure on that. But yeah, it's insane that he's the first X Division wrestler to be, or only the second X Division wrestler as well, while holding the title, to be featured on the cover. But yeah, that's very cool. More exposure for TNA. It's all good. We need more of this, honestly, and we need more things like that because we need more eyes on the product. Eddie Edwards versus Mike Bailey. Now, I guess I didn't really have as much. I thought that this one could go either way to some extent, because it was Bailey and Seven have to kind of build momentum. They have to look legitimate, but you don't want to have the system losing matches. So the thing is, it's tough to give that. Sometimes you've got to kind of give it in the match to make them look good in the match, and then kind of yank that away a little bit, but making it seem like, man, they could have won, so we better tune in, still. So I think that's usually a pretty good formula, and that's what they kind of did here. with Edwards, coming out on top. At the way that he did it at the end, rolling out of the way of the Ultimo weapon and hitting his knee strike to the back. Very good. Like that worked out pretty well after a bit of a distraction. So yeah, that was quite good. Highlight here of the momentum that Eddie Edwards is getting on the road to Rebellion. PCO was backstage, screaming for Khan in a Monsters Bowl. Honestly, I feel like this should be just at Rebellion. Guys. TNA, put it on Rebellion, or at least put it on the pre-show. Like, it should be on the main show, but Jesus Christ, like this feud's been building for months. Let them be on the freaking pay-per-view. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're gonna give away this match for free? What? On free TV? Yes, you have to give away free matches sometimes, but you shouldn't give away premiere matches for the most part on TV. Like, on free TV. You should build them up on pay-per-view. And you should let your wrestlers... I don't know. This will be great. And I hope that it leads to something else at Rebellion. But I'm pretty much over this feud, I think. I think a lot of people kind of are too. It's been on for quite a while. And I felt like last month that, Khan should have probably just won. It makes more sense, especially since, PCO is like, looking for revenge, sort of seemingly. Like, for revenge for what? For hitting him and costing him a match with Alan Angels. PCO will do the job for Alan Angels, but he won't do the job for Khan, apparently. Like, what? I don't know. I mean, that's where I think it's going anyway. At the end of the day, the Khan's going to win. But yeah, it's really weird. Like, sometimes when you kind of are like looking at this and thinking, man, why are they doing this? Like, yes, sometimes you got to give away some premiere matches to keep like on TV to get people to tune in, especially like it's a taped show. It's tough again because people know the results. But again, you've got to do this sort of thing, I guess, to get people to go, oh, okay, well, it's going to be a fight. We'll tune in to see it. Like, it's going to be a really good fight, so might as well tune in to see it. But yeah, whatever. Wait and see. The FBI, the full-blooded Italians, they're going to be on TNA iMPACT next week. Honestly, I feel like this should have just been a surprise. Like I've already seen the spoiler to an extent, but like, if you're going to announce something, I don't know. It's tough because will fans expect something? Perhaps, but again, you're kind of like, when you're giving away something like this, like, you shouldn't. I don't know. I don't understand this decision. You should like save it so that people go, oh, look, it's these guys. Not that they were like gonna be that super surprised, but again, like, if you're preempting it, it's sort of a little bit hard for people to like go, oh wow, it's these guys. We didn't expect them to be back or whatever. I know, but like, when was it Tony Mamaluke, I think, wrestled last, like, he faced Alan Angels and Alan Angels was telling him to remembering his spots and stuff like that. Like, that's a bad look when, I don't know how old Alan Angels is, but he's, early 20s, mid-20s, I think, or something. It looks bad when somebody, pretty much half your age is telling you the spots to do and whatnot. So, I don't know. Anyway, we'll see them next week. Frankie Kazarian had a promo about Eric Young. Chris Bay came in to say, hey, fight me, bro. You won't get away with taking down my partner and, besmirching my name like that, like you did. Let's go next week. So they're going to have a match next week. And I feel bad for Bay. I do. Like it's good in some ways that they're like these guys again, like you say, like they're getting some singles action, and they're mixing it up with some of the icons and legends of TNA and whatnot. But they need to get over and win. Like perhaps they're not going to win now, but it sets something up later, I hope. And hopefully that's not too much later, honestly. But, yeah, I feel bad because Bay's going to lose. Like, there's no reason for him to win unless EY interferes or something like that, or causes a distraction or something like that. That could actually be alright, but I just don't really see it. Like, you could see it, and in a sense you could almost see like a tag team match of some sort, with the ABC against Kaz and a partner of his choice, or a 6-man tag of some sort. I don't know who you could get to be his partners, but I'm sure you can find somebody and put them out there. Rich Swann had a promo in the ring explaining his actions. I don't know, dude. Like, obviously, his explanation makes sense. And I think he got a decent reaction. And I think he played it up pretty well. I think this is one of those big things that, especially in today's wrestling, it is incredibly hard to stay relevant, stay fresh, and keep people interested. Especially when you're a white meat babyface. Even with all the charisma that Rich Swann has and had been showing sort of as a, great babyface, I don't know. It is so tough to be just generic babyface X, Y, or Z, and things like that. I think this is an interesting character element, but it doesn't mean that I like it in some ways. I think I'm going to, like, I'm obviously going to watch it because I watch TNA as a fan and I won't stop and whatnot, but I will watch this, and as well as a YouTuber and whatnot, because I do this now just because I decided to do it, and now I'm paying for it. But again, hopefully we can do our best to, make an impact and whatnot. So we do what we can here. But man, I was almost begging for Joe to come out. Like, he said his name. So when he says his name, I thought he'd appear, But Joe didn't come out. Joe didn't make any appearance. I think this was a little bit long. Just in my opinion, the pacing of it was a little long. The explanation, it's basically what you would think. So, like, and honestly, again, like, in a lot of ways, they need more baby faces. They don't need more heels. They need more baby faces. So it's like, why are you taking this guy who's baby face and turning them heel? Yes, you're trying to turn Dina from heel to baby face. I don't know. Tom Hannafin had a sit-down interview with the Raider Kid. I was surprised to see this, and like I didn't really think much of like as I said, I think if people watched the video that I did about, Crazy Steve and Laredo Kid, like, I didn't think much of it. It was just a throwaway match, in my opinion. But now they're giving Laredo Kid interview time. Like, they've obviously done this to build up a match between the two a little bit more because they don't want to just throw into another match. And this is a way to facilitate that. I don't think they would have done this otherwise, but still, whatever. It is cool to kind of see it. It could have worked well after his match as well. I think they could have done that as well. But Laredo had a lot of cool stuff to kind of talk about here, and overcoming the horrific injury that he had. And he was just in a match with Vikingo, and he actually won the title, or the cruiserweight title, I think it was, off of Vikingo at that time. So, like, Vikingo is like one of their top stars, like, or was. I think that he's joined AEW now, so I don't think he's wrestling there much, and it's sad that they're kind of losing the Raider Kid, one of the few guys that, probably has pinned him for a title in a long time. Granted, it's the cruiserweight title, but again, that still means a lot, against somebody that's, held in such high protection. So that they're mentioning that kind of thing is important in this, because again, Laredo is trying to be booked, now as a more credible threat to Crazy Steve's title. Do I think he's going to win it? I don't think so. It'd be interesting, but I don't think it's quite there yet. It's tough to say who will take it off Steve. But I think this is for next week, pretty sure. Not 100% sure. Maybe it's for 2 weeks. I don't know, dude. But obviously it's going to happen some point soon, and I just don't see it. Like, Steve's fairly early in his run. Like, I want to kind of see more of what Steve can kind of do with it. Like, I think. I wouldn't mind seeing this match. It's going to be a fine match. Perhaps even this is mirroring the world title match. I don't know. But honestly, I don't feel like, Laredo's the right person to take it off of him. So, I don't know who is right now. So, you've got to kind of think about, like, where that's kind of going, because, like, maybe I keep thinking Jake something should be in this space, but I don't know whether he would fit that well. Like, but again, just earning some sort of, like, upper mid-card title would be good, and then moving on from there to sort of start challenging for the world title would be good. Gives him something to do for 6 months or whatever. And as long as you've got some decent challenges for him, which is maybe why, again, like, you're getting some of these more mid-card heels or whatever. Like, you do need heels in your division, but you always need a lot more baby faces when you've got so many heels at the top as well, but still. We'll talk more about Rebellion, and we'll talk more about next week's upcoming TNA show in just a moment. But we'll get on to the main event, and unfortunately, as I sort of said, I sort of gave away the finish to this match before, but this match was fire. This match was so much fire, and this one was, like, really physical and back and forth. I thought several times throughout this match that Chris Sabin was going to win, and I was like, I hope Macklin wins. I was like pulling for Macklin throughout this whole match, because I was going like, dude, Macklin needs this win. Like, even if he's here for another week or 2 weeks or something, I don't know. But he did say, hey, in an interview here or there, I can't remember where now, that he wants to remain with TNA for the foreseeable future, at least. The dude is doing really good work, and he's in a really good position. Like, and he could be put in some really good positions, to do some really good stuff. That, again, where I say he needs more faces to face off against, but still, it's one of those things. But yeah, like, Steve Macklin won this match. But again, don't just take it for this person won, that person lost. Like, go back and watch this. Go back and check this out, because this was a, not a 5-star, but it was certainly a classic, great match. Here's a highlight of Sabin getting caught in the crosshairs. He reversed that before in the match, and several other moves throughout the match. Even the KIA, he reversed into a pin, which I thought, oh, that's it, but then Macklin rolled through and hit the KIA to finally pick up the very hard-earned win. It looked like Macklin whispered something into Sabin's ear, more or less saying, hey, thank you, I think. But, you never know. But that's my thoughts. Because, again, we know Sabin, Shelley, they're probably on the way out. So this just sort of proved that, and probably next week's going to prove it even further. You can see, again, we're going to go back to here and start talking about Rebellion and next week now, but you can see the highlight for next week. We already know some of the matches for the upcoming Rebellion. Again, I'll talk more about Steph DeLander and Jordan Grace in another video on its own specifically, so we'll cover that a little bit more in an upcoming video. Be sure to check that out when it comes live onto the channel, which shouldn't be long after this one, hopefully at least. But next week we'll feature Rhino and Mustafa Ali in an old school rules match. Mustafa is going to win this one, probably 99.99%. Like I said before, I don't really see the point in Rhino winning. Like, it's a nice cheap pop for the 2300 arena, but whatever. It's fine. Kazarian versus Bay. Kazarian's probably going to win this one. So yeah, like, sad for Bay, but maybe he'll win and maybe something will come of that, but I don't know. Ash by Elegance versus Xia Brookside. Now, this one, I think it's tough because I kind of want their feud to continue. But I don't think that this will end in a non-contest or anything like that. I do feel like that Ash probably will win this one, though I'm not 1,000% sure. At least I feel like Ash will win this feud between them, probably at Rebellion, to cap it off and then go on to face Jordan after that at some point. I could see that being quite a good way to sort of, debut her and showcase her. And this is the first real opponent that she's sort of had, and their rivalry's been kind of percolating for a while now. They need to have a match. They need to start telling a proper story between them and whatnot, to build to some sort of big payoff, perhaps. Or maybe this is it. I don't know. Tough to say. But then again, what are you going to do with Xia if you're not going to keep this feud going? Like, what's she going to do? Like, you've got to keep this feud going just to keep, Xia having something to do until you've worked something else out for her. Perhaps she can face Steph DeLander after this, but I don't know how long Steph's sticking around. Maybe she's just here for Rebellion or whatever. You don't know. But, like, again, we will talk more about more of it as it sort of develops. Nemeth and Shelley, as I said, unfortunately, it's probably going to be Shelley losing. Not that I'm sad to see Nick Nemeth win, but like it's kind of predictable in some regards. Like I think like Jordan Grace and Josh Alexander are meant to face up against Hammerstone and Tasha Steeles at some point in a mixed tag team match. So I'm waiting to see that too, because I know it was announced. That one will be interesting. And wait and see that. I don't think I can really predict that one. But that is for next week, and that is pretty much it for this one here for today. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope you guys will leave me a comment down there in those comments saying whether you did or whether you didn't, or just by subscribing if you did. And hope again that you will join me again in another one.